Hi everyone, I have just got back from a match playing for Ashton at home to Charlton 6. This is Tim C played as well, and I may do his game, but I won't give the result away so it'll keep you excited for it. My opponent, may already have seen from the previous videos, was Edward Patten, graded 103 ECF. This was a game I was worried about because, as you've seen, he is a bit of a draw specialist and has held Tim C to 3 draws last season. And he's 38 points lower, so I do not want a draw, and he's a draw specialist. And I was black as well, to make it even worse. And in that video I showed, he drew quite comfortably as black, and now he's white in this game. And sure enough, he plays a very unambitious opening with this. And we have a Queen's Indian, which I do not play at all and do not really have a clue about, but I managed to survive. And now he takes here, which just cannot be good, helping me develop my bishop. And now I have my the time control in this league is only an hour for 30 moves and then 15 back, which is almost rapid play. So it's going to be littered with inaccuracies, I'm afraid, and blunders. But you will learn something instructive from these blunders and missed tactical opportunities. First bad move is knight e7. This allows knight a4, which was played, and now there is a double strategic threat, and I cannot answer both. The one is to double my pawns, which I don't really mind about actually, as we're going to find out, and one is to take my bishop off and have the bishop pair. I let the second one occur. Also, I've noticed that there is some tactics against d7, because notice that if white ever plays bishop takes f6, I have to take with the pawn because the queen takes d7, and I can't really use it as a gambit because the bishop is then on pre. So, but I'm actually not bothered about taking with a pawn because it creates some imbalances which I am going to need to win this game, and I will get the g file. And because I've got bishop on b7, this isn't a terrible plan. Knight takes, pawn takes. Now he could have gone bishop takes, g takes, queen d6 with a very strong centralised queen attacking c5, and white should be better here. Instead he goes knight e5. I had my longest think here. You can't really have many long thinks, but I had a good 10 minutes here analysing, and I was stuck between queen c7 and knight h4. The idea of knight h4, which I played, is to try and provoke a weakness. Instead, well, in fact, I was looking at queen c7. After knight takes, pawn takes, bishop takes, g takes. I have a very interesting pawn structure here, which is potentially weak, but it can offer some chances, some good central play. I have a good mass of central pawns, which should be fine, and the position is fine for black. Instead, I played knight h4. I'm now attacking g2. However, I was hoping for him to play f3 and then to play knight f5 and try and take advantage of that weakness I provoked. Instead, he goes knight f3, the sign of a draw specialist, seeing as he probably wants me to play knight g6, and then he will go back to e5, and we will have a draw after just 14 moves. Certainly not my style. Knight f5, I go, which was the idea if he went back. Now he does the plan of taking. I have to take with a g pawn, otherwise d7 drops. Now he does knight d2, a passive move. Bishop d3, threatening to triple and isolate my pawns. Knight e7 and e4 should give white an edge. White is planning queen d2 to h6 and e5, and h7 is very weak. Knight d2, king h8, preferring some g-file play, so he is quick to stop it with bishop f3. Now I go d5, which is a careless blunder. However, he starts playing very passively. He's very worried about my potential g-file attack, so he decides to re-free and shadow his bishop on g2. However, he has a strong move here. In fact, there is a potential fork which he misses. See if you can spot the fork. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The correct move would have been takes, and if I take, he has queen c2 hitting a knight and pawn, and I will then have a terrible pawn structure. I will be down a pawn and will probably lose this game against someone a lot lower rated. The best actually after takes is knight h4, d6, knight takes f3, knight takes f3, queen d7, knight h4. White's a clear pawn up, but maybe the bishop versus knight has some salvation. Instead he goes g3, terribly passive, queen c7. He can still take and go rook c1. He doesn't win a pawn, but and the thing is now I have my pawn structure. Like I have these double isolated f pawns, and also I have hanging pawns as well. And they can be a strength and a weakness. And in this position, they cannot advance, so therefore they are a weakness, and they could be picked off at some point. And this pawn structure here gives white a clear advantage. Bishop g2. Rook a d8. Now the pawns are a bit more defended and black is coming back into the game now. Queen c2, which allows d4. Bishop takes b7. And here I looked at a few tactics here. I looked at the Zwischenzug, d takes e3. The point being, I'm threatening rook takes d2. If knight e4, then I can get an advantage with knight d4, queen b2, e2, rook fe1, queen takes b7 with a strong advantage for black. Black should instead take back, and I can play knight takes e3, forking the rook and queen. Queen e4, defending the bishop. Knight takes, f5, queen g2, and white has got 2 pieces for a rook and pawn, which is probably slightly better for him, and also I have doubled pawns. So white is probably better here, which is why I didn't go for it. Bishop takes, so instead I just take back with the queen. E takes d4, bad move. If c takes d4, trying to get a passed pawn going, then queen d3 blockades it, and the queen is very hard to shift. Because if I play e5, then the knight in f5 drops. If knight takes d4, which is also good, queen e4 I looked at, then queen e7, knight f3, and f5, and black's strong knight on d4 should give him a small advantage, or at least compensate for the double pawns. Instead I play rook takes d4, preparing d-file pressure and the trebling of the heavy pieces, and here he makes the absolute worst move on the board with queen d1. And here I rushed and automatically blurted out rook ed8 double question mark, because now he just plays queen f3 and I am not winning anything. There's 2 wins here. Knight h4 is the most clear cut. The best move is actually f3, and then after rook ed8 white is in serious trouble. Say g takes, rook takes d2, and white is forced to give the queen due to queen takes f3 and rook g8 mate coming. Sorry, rook g8 check and all that coming. And if takes, then rook g8 and his mate. Also, a simpler win is queen d7, and the difference to the game is that there's no queen f3 because my queen is not on pre, and instead the knight in d2 is going, and white could resign this. However, I go rook ed8 double question mark, queen f3, and now if I take, of course, his knight takes, so I go queen d7, trebling the heavy pieces, but this game should have already been won. Now he goes knight e4, and white is better once again, due to white has actually got the initiative now again due to the threats. I go rook d3, and here he makes an absolute astounding move. Queen f5, queen d4, and rook e1 is clearly better for white. He makes the astonishing move, queen h1, completely decentralizing the queen, and now queen d4. And now my queen is took over, and black now has a decisive advantage all of a sudden. It's amazing how bad decentralization can be. Knight d4 is actually stronger, and the best play is f4, otherwise knight f3, f5, knight f6, knight e2 check, king g2, queen c6, king h3, takes, rook takes, king g7, and there is a dual threat of knight takes f4 check, and if knight h5, Then king g6 and the knight is trapped and white is lost. But queen d4 is very strong. Rook fe1. The game is over pretty quickly for me here. Rook g8, threatening knight h4, and there's very little white can do. If king f1, which is the strongest defence, I had planned knight h6 to g4, which will win. But I rather king g2 just allows check. King h3, they're all bad. Knight f3, and now there is a dual threat of winning the exchange and f5 trapping the knight. It's amazing how this wonderful essentialised knight a few moves ago is going to get lost. And after rook a d1, I simply take, queen takes e4. The only way to stop knight g5 mate is actually to give up the queen. Either he just does rook d7, allowing a mate in 1. So after I didn't play very well then, to be honest, but I managed to grind out a victory with a bit of nice play at the end and a nice finish there with the checkmate. So and a win's a win, so I'm quite happy. And this was a potential banana skin, seeing as I would not want to draw. And Tim C has failed to beat this guy in 3 attempts, so I was quite happy. And I might do Tim C's game. Look out for more videos tomorrow. Subscribe if you want the latest news. And I hope you enjoyed this one. Please leave any comments and thoughts. Thank you very much.